the good news is that we're part of a larger organization, right? Rotary International. And the downtown chair called me the day after our program for today had been canceled and said, hey, we had some great speakers. And I happen to know one of them professionally, and so I asked, and they're here today. Our speakers today are Kim Mitchell and Vicki Hordesky. Kim is the president and Vicki is the building director of the Peoria Women's Club. Kim and Vicki have much in common besides being on the board of this organization. Both are Central Illinois natives, Rushville and Bartonville, respectively. They're both Bradley University alumni. They're both community volunteers for MS Society, 4-H, St. Anthony's Catholic Church. Both are very proud of their families and both have been successful in their professional lives. Kim is a CFP and wealth advisor for Merrill Lynch, while Vicki has worked in HR and project management at Caterpillar. Vicki also has something in common with at least 3 members of the club in that she has children by means of international adoption. They are sons, though, and so they won't be able to join the Peoria Women's Club. But I do give you today Kim Mitchell and Vicki Hordesky from Peoria Women's Club.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to share our story. What a fun group. Yeah, we've really enjoyed. Anyway, let me just first of all ask 2 questions. How many of you, show of hands, are familiar with the Peoria Women's Club? Not a bad showing of hands. How many of you are familiar with where the Peoria Women's Club building is located in Peoria? Another nice show of hands. Well, let me share my story. As you know, I'm a Bradley University grad. I'm not going to tell you the year because then that would give away my age. But, of course, spent time in Bradley, went off for my professional career, came back to Peoria for a second career in 1996. So I've been here for the last, 27 years approximately, and was not aware of the Peoria Women's Club until 2011. Now, I'd driven by the building numerous occasions, but I had no idea what was in the building. I definitely did not know that we had a women's club. It was when my husband and I, we attended a West Bluff historic home tour, and the Peoria Women's Club was the last stop or destination. That was back in 2011. And so as we walked into the building, it was just like, we love going in and look at historic buildings. And so we toured the whole site. I learned about the club. At that time, I think there were about 25 active members. And so my heart immediately was attached to the Women's Club. It wasn't the perfect time, though, in my life to begin getting involved with another non-for-profit organization. My children were young at the time, and so I was very active with 4-H and multiple sclerosis. So they grew up. They went off to college, and so in 2019, I became a member. In fact, it was early 2019, and it was also a number of great friends that I brought in with the membership. And Doug Wilkins, where are you? You're here somewhere. Christy Wilkins, Doug's wife, joined just shortly after. Lori Moore, Crylene Worthy, joined at the same time as well. I'll let Vicki share her story as to how she joined. But anyway, let me give you a little history and background of Peoria Women's Club. And you see the timeline up here. In 1886, the summer after Clara Parsons Borland organized a club, she returned from Europe, whereby she loved the culture and the arts. And so she returned to Peoria and organized a club to promote music, literature, and art. And it was her thought that the entire Peoria community could benefit from such an organization. It was she and 26 other women, so 27 are known as the charter members of the Peoria Women's Club. Some of you may have relatives that were one of those charter women. Their motto was to help another from what one has or is the most noble deed. To help one another from what one has or is is the most noble deed. So these 27 women incorporated their club in 1890. They created a club plan which remains fundamentally the same as today. There are 4 main departments: art, literature, home and education, philanthropy, reform, and music. Our club is a 501c3 tax-exempt entity with a mission to provide the opportunity for education, social development, cultural growth, and awareness of current civic concerns and public affairs. We have not changed that mission since 1890. We practice our mission, and PwC has been very instrumental, to name a few only, since the history, and the list is very lengthy. But the women formed the Illinois Federation. They were very involved with the Bartonville State Hospital, the start of kindergarten in our Peoria public schools, and securing a police matron. That's just a few to mention. Today, we continue the work of our mission, and we support Lincoln School Center for Prevention of Abuse. We offer educational internships and collaborate with Bradley University, and intend to expand that with ICC as well as the Woodruff Trade Program in Culinary Arts. And we offer programs 9 to 10 per year to our members and community guests. So our building, Jeffrey, tell me if here's our building. For those of you that do not know where we're located, we're at the corner of Fayette and Madison. The cornerstone, which you can't see real well in this picture, but you see the garbage can in the corner. Well, directly behind that is a cornerstone, and molded into the sandstone is 1893. It's a Romanesque style building. We stand as the 2nd oldest women's club in the nation, owning and occupying our original unaltered building. And I heard some wows at the 2nd oldest club. In that corner behind the garbage can, there is a time capsule enclosed in 1893 when the building was constructed. So when we go through our restoration, if that cornerstone just happens to crumble a little bit more, we might be able to pull that time capsule out. And I'm going to take you upstairs. This is the hidden gem. Most people have no idea of the treasure we have. It's a 430-seat theater. We are the oldest theater in what was known as the Peoria Theater District. It is a must-see. We would love for you all to come in and tour our building. The floor itself is sloped towards the stage, and the stage is raked. It is believed that we were one of the early ones built in the nation. So in our early days, PwC was the cultural hub, as you can imagine, for Shakespeare plays, famous artists, and performances by Peoria Players. Peoria Symphony, in its early days, performed on our stage, as well as the Amateur Musical Club. And we're ready to share performing arts theater with you. It is acoustically perfect. You won't be able to see real well, but there are coved arch ceilings, so no microphones are required. You can stand on the stage and be held or heard perfectly at the rear of the theater. So it was very well constructed, very well thought out by the women of the club as well as the architect. So the Peoria Women's Club Music Hall looks forward to being, again, a vibrant theater district alongside Scottish Rite and hopefully the Madison Theater one day. I'm going to turn it over to Vicki. She's going to walk you through our restoration project.
So I joined the Women's Club. Kim actually called me up and asked me if I wanted to join. She said, how would you like to join the Peoria Women's Club? I said, sure, okay, what do I have to do? She said, fill out a form and pay some dues. I said, okay. So I went and got the form off the internet, and I was writing a check. She calls me back and says, how'd you like to chair the restoration committee? I said, I haven't even met anybody yet. How much are they going to hate me if I walk in and chair the restoration committee? She said, nobody else wants to do it. So I joined and started chairing the restoration committee, all pretty much in the same week. And one of the things I found very amazing was this group of 27 women figured out a way to get the funds and build a building at a time when women did not have bank accounts and couldn't even vote. And what they did was they let out bonds, and they got other women and other people in the community to purchase bonds, and they had a building association. And over time, then they paid off all the bonds and closed the building association down, which I thought was just kind of an amazing thing. They had something they wanted to do, and they just figured out a way to get it done. So in 2019, we started our journey to restore this building. It doesn't have any heating or air conditioning on the second floor. It hasn't for a few decades. And so you can imagine the state that the second floor is in at the moment. And much of the exterior work has not been maintained over time. So in 2019, Core and Farnsworth came in, and we paid for a study for them to look at every nook and cranny in the building and give us an overview of what all needed to be done and how much, just ballpark figures of what we would need to do that. And so they came up with a project scope and estimates for us, and we have to raise somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.5 to $4 million for the restoration of our building. And that includes everything on the building. It's tuck pointing, it's new roof, it's the theater itself, it's our restrooms. We have 3 restrooms right now, and of course we have a 400-person theater upstairs, so that's not nearly enough. We really need 11. So it's a huge amount of work to undertake. We don't have a way, ADA compliance, to get people to the second floor, so we have to put on an elevator. And so $3 to $4 million is what we're going to need. We are very fortunate that at one point Kim Blick and staff was walking around downtown looking at the old buildings, and he saw ours, and some folks were there, and he came in and met with them. And it turned out that his grandmother had been a club member and had been very interested in the theater, and he offered us $500,000 to kick off our fundraising fund. And so with that $500,000 initial investment, that was enough for us to start really planning to get a few things done. So the Restoration Committee started doing research on other historic buildings that had done some renovations recently. Reading Mansion in Ottawa, the New Hope Apartments, which is the old YWCA downtown. The Scottish Rite building we visited. We recently went and talked to the folks at the Madison Theater, just to try to find out what did they do that went well, what would they do differently if they were starting over. We talked to the folks that put in Obed and Isaacs. And we looked at the 2019 report and started trying to prioritize, okay, we have $500,000 now, we have to do some fundraising. What should we do first? What should we spend that money on? $500,000 sounds like a lot of money, but you start tuck pointing and replacing a roof, and it's gone pretty quickly. So the spring of this year, we hired Farnsworth and Core to help us develop a master plan to really help us prioritize where we could spend that money and the best use we could make of it. And they're providing us architectural, engineering, and construction management kind of services, because while we have a lot of women who have renovated historic homes and are very excited about the idea of renovating the building, those are skills we don't have within the club. So then we did complete early in the spring some construction projects to meet safety code. As you can imagine, in an old building, our doors didn't even open the correct way. You had to pull them in to go out. So, we flipped some doors around, we put in some emergency lighting, those sorts of things that were not in our building, because we do rent it and we wanted to make sure everybody was safe. And then over the summer, or early in the spring, we got back together with Kim Blick and staff, and we gave them an update of the work we had done over the last year, where we're at in our planning, what we were planning to do with his first donation of money, where we were at on fundraising, the club itself, our membership has been growing. We've been working very hard at that. And he asked if he could do a presentation from our building on the I-74 park that he has, you maybe have seen in the newspapers and things. And we said, sure, that would be great. So he came, and the news media came, and he made that announcement, and then announced that he was going to give us another $1 million towards our building fund. So now we have 1.5 million. We need 3.5 to 4, but 1.5 can get us a long way down the road into getting some things done for the building. So thank you to Kim Blick and staff for that. So over the summer, we started obtaining bids. We hired Heritage Restoration, which is a local company in Peoria, to restore our windows. We have windows that are wood. The wood's 130 years old. You cannot buy wood like that anymore. We decided rather than replace them, we wanted to restore what's there. We have most of the original glass. And so Heritage is taking them out one window at a time back to their shop, and they're restoring the windows for us. That's in process. We've also received bids. Autobahn is going to do the tuck pointing for us, and we've been working through the process to get that started. And we're working on getting the roof replaced. Our next step right now is we've gone through this process. We've got our master plan. We've figured out the first things we want to do. The Peoria Historical Preservation group has to review all of that and approve it. So this month we put everything, actually a few days ago, we turned in the paperwork with the Historic Preservation Commission to get their approvals on what we plan to do. Once we have their approvals, we can actually start the work. So we're very close now to, the windows are already started, but we should be tuck pointing and roofing. And then once they approve it, we have a little bit more engineering work to do with Farnsworth and Core. And then we can start bidding some of the interior work, the restroom redesign and those sorts of things. So we're very excited. In a year and a half, we have gotten a lot of the planning done, and we're now at the point where we can actually start to see some of the work happen. So it's a very exciting time.
So we have a very impressive team at work at Peoria Women's Club. Whoops, I went a little too far, Jeffrey. I'm going to go back one more. Yes, so our board of directors. You may know a number of them. Sherry Zoller is our program director. Ann Shutt is our membership second vice president. Rachel Parker, county clerk, is our recording secretary. Peggy Sullivan is our corresponding secretary, communication to our members. Christy Wilkins is our treasurer. Vicki Hordesky. Judy Beck is our community service director and outreach. Jamie Bogle is our fundraising director. Alicia Calderon is our public relations director. Paula Lewis is our rental director. And Kathy Demler is our social director. In addition to our 12 board of directors, we have approximately 30 to 35 that are participants in the committees, and they're all working very, very hard and together are accomplishing a lot in a short amount of time. This board began working with one another January 1st of this year. Vicky's Restoration Committee got a start about 12 to 16 months ago. And so a lot's being accomplished in a short amount of time. Our membership is right now at 167 and growing. Our goal is to be to 200 by year end. So great board of directors, committee members, and lots of interest in the progression and growth of our club. So I'd love to take questions if you have any. Yes. Our annual dues. We have a 5-tier dues system: 50, 100, 250, 500, or 1,000. You choose what works best for your financial situation. And those are annual. Thank you for asking. Any other?
When you get all restored and it's up and running and you've got your place and the Scottish Rite and the Madison Theater and all these options that Peoria has not had for years, how do you think all of them blend in together to keep everybody busy and events all over the place?
That is a great question. You know, we look at the 3 of our theaters really complementing one another. Ours will be the smallest theater of 430. We have a sizable stage, but not a stage with lots of backdrop and space. So the type of performances that we will be holding will be entirely different than the Scottish Rite, which has a massive stage with great lighting and technology and sound system, seats approximately 900. And then, of course, Madison Theater is yet one step above. I think they're going to seat around 1,500, 1,600. So, you know, we are visiting with all of Jenny Parkhurst as well as Gabelhausen at Madison Theater. We think we'll do a wonderful job of complementing one another and providing a variety of performances and the arts in the community. Thank you. Yes. Great question. So we have 2 programs already launched and underway. Adopt a Seat, which is the theater that you saw, 430 seats. Adopt a Seat is $250 each. And then Sponsor a Window, which we have 60. And we're seeking out the women business owners, matriarchs, women that have been doing a tremendous philanthropic work within their community. We're hoping to receive those that would sponsor a window at $5,000 each, and we have 60 windows to adopt. Both of those programs are well underway. And then, of course, there will be larger individual donor asks to round out the full amount. We do have a website, PeoriaWomen'sClub.com, and on that website is information regarding the history of our club as well as the Adopt a Seat program. Thank you, everyone.